Good afternoon. This is Philip Ross, founder and executive director of Bright Futures Atlanta, and I'm joined today by two of our teachers at Bright Futures Academy. I'd like to welcome Dr. Nwaka Ugokwe and Mr. Paul Johnson. Dr. Nikki is our high school science teacher, and Mr. Johnson is history and finance youth entrepreneurs. Mr. Johnson, how long have you been with Bright Futures?
Bright Futures now going on a little bit over 2 years, since February 2018.
How about you, Dr. Nikki?
Futures for 5 months. I started work in December 2019.
Okay, so you haven't been around that long, but you sure have found a niche amongst Bright Futures. A couple years, he has stood apart as the high school leading teacher, kind of that guy that people come to. We switched over to virtual learning, obviously, as of the middle of May due to COVID. It's a learning curve for all of us. We had been using Google Classroom and other virtual things, but now doing it full time, it was a little tough. So the first few weeks we did it one way, and then we just this past week switched over to a different transition to where we're doing live classes on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then remediation on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Dr. Nikki, since we've done that, have you noticed an increase in participation and engagement with this change from the students?
Yeah, more students are coming into the live classrooms and more students are engaging in the remedial sessions. The transition for the live classes was very easy for our students, I believe, because like you said, we've been using Google Classroom prior to going into this transition phase.
Have given the students that, once again, the opportunity to somewhat congregate and associate with one another, and for us to have a real classroom setting. Matter of fact, my class today, I almost ran over time, just like we were in regular class. I took it right up to the minute that it was time to finish. So it's been very effective switching to live classes and being able to still have that one-on-one instruction to some extent, even though it's a virtual platform.
So, Mr. Johnson, what's been the biggest challenge since we've transitioned to this virtual learning model, and how have you overcome that challenge?
I think one of the biggest challenges is really just still being able to check on the students, how well they're doing, really the emotional side of them, and not necessarily the academics, because they are turning in work and they're still communicating with them. But really just being able to see how well they're doing is really, and being able, because they almost like a family with each day by being able to see them, but just being able to, but being able to use sometimes that instructional focus on Tuesdays and Thursdays to talk with them to make sure that they're still doing well outside of school, even with things going well. But academically fine, but really just concerned about the students is really the biggest challenge.
Yeah, that's opening a whole nother can of worms when we talk about the psychological, social effect that this is having on our kids. Dr. Nikki, what would you say is the biggest challenge thus far in this model?
For science, because we're an inquiry-based approach to the lesson, I think my challenge is that one-on-one that I had with the kids, where I could walk them through that inquiry-based lesson and basically scaffold their understanding of the lesson. And like what Mr. Johnson said, also emotionally, the kids sometimes will express a little bit of frustration as not having that one-on-one close communication or touch. But we have in Bright Futures, we have a format that addresses that. So that Tuesday and Thursday focus, where we're having remediation and we're having tutoring sessions, that actually helps the students. And like I said, academically, with those two formats of live classes and the remediation and tutoring sessions, our kids are continuing to learn and thrive.
The whole piece of having the kids not be able to interact amongst each other. Many of the kids are, pretty much, living most of their lives in their bedrooms, and that's never a good thing. But again, we'll get through this. Mr. Johnson, on a brighter note, what are you most proud of since we've transitioned to a virtual environment?
Several students have stood out, but I really appreciate it. I would say actually one of my most consistent classes have been the ninth grade classes, the freshmen. I'll say them as a whole, with them showing up and being there for one another. They have really shown up. Actually, my freshman class of ninth graders, and it seems like this break has given them an instant jolt of I have to mature, I have to step up, and I have to do what I need to over this time.
That's awesome. What about you, Dr. Nikki? What are you most proud of since we've transitioned?
I'm proud of like the ninth graders and also our 12th graders. Our 12th graders are about to graduate, and I see that change in them. I see that maturity. I see the good kids that we're going to send out to society, and I'm very, very proud of them. I'm proud of all our kids. They have done well with this transition.
So, you know, again, I know some of the kids, you know, before this scenario were struggling. You know, school just isn't, regular school isn't for everybody. I'm going to ask you, you know, Dr. Nikki, can you think of one student that this type of learning has really been a positive for them in the past 6 weeks?
Jabari for me by far. He's a ninth grader, and Jabari and Jaden, I worried about them, and Jabari has stepped up even when we didn't have the live classes. He engaged with me. If he had a question regarding an assignment, he was the first to reach out. Unlike regular school where I had to chase him down for certain assignments, he has been on top of every assignment and turned it in a timely manner. So I think by far for me, he has been the one that I have been very, very impressed by his work ethic during this transition time.
I've heard Mr. Johnson mention Tabari's name on more than one occasion. So, well, anyway, I just want to thank you both for taking time out of your very busy schedules to join me, just to help pass the word about how Bright Futures Virtual Academy is still up, still running, strong every day. We're not giving up on our kids so that they won't give up on themselves. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.